Nice laid-back record by Chris Isaak. I'd forgotten about it. Just listened to it again on YouTube, the record to refresh my memory on YouTube a few minutes ago. Chris Isaak, Let Me Down Easy on my fancy playlist of May 6, 2002. Got a check mark beside that song, which means that I'm probably going to drop it the next week. Peaked at number 19 on my fancy playlist. Chris Isaak, his first big hit was Wicked Games back in late 1990. Early 1991, where he was on the beach. It was a black and white video where he's on the beach, sort of an erotic video. He was on the beach with a model, and that was a pretty nice video. But this record I like, Let Me Down Easy by Chris Isaak. I was going to talk a little bit about Chris Isaak, get into some of his Lost 45s that he did back in the 90s, or Lost MP3s, whatever you want to call it. But I started researching the guy who produced this album. The album was called Always Got Tonight. It was Chris Isaak's 8th album, produced by a guy named John Shanks. John Shanks, man, he's worked with a lot of people. He started out playing in Melissa Etheridge's band back in the 80s. He also helped Melissa Etheridge. He wrote some songs with her for an album called Your Little Secrets, or I believe it's called, Your Little Secrets album. He produced another album by Melissa Etheridge, but I just found this out. I kind of got excited about this. Ashley Simpson, I remember her debut record, Pieces of Me, the video, back in the summer of 2004. Turns out it was produced, at least, or either produced or co-produced, this album, Autobiography by John Shanks. John Shanks produced this album. He also co-wrote 10 of 12 songs off this album with I can't pronounce her name. Cara DiGardio, I believe is how you pronounce DiGardio, something like that. I read a book about her several years ago. She was a prolific songwriter. She also was a judge on American Idol for 1 or 2 seasons. But she and John Shanks and Ashley Simpson, they pitched in and wrote Pieces of Me, and they also wrote Shadow, and La La off that album by Ashley Simpson, Autobiography. Got into La La. That was aggressive rock and roll record. And John Shanks also teamed up with Michelle Branch. He worked on her big debut album called The Spirit Room, co-produced it. He produced her first hit single, Everywhere, back in 2001. Michelle Branch. And I just found this out. One of my semi-favorite songs by Sheryl Crow, Steve McQueen, which came out, and it was put out as a single summer, fall of 2002. It was produced, well, it was co-written by John Shanks. As a matter of fact, John Shanks produced that album by Sheryl Crow called Come On, Come On, which featured Steve McQueen, and of course the big hit off of that, Soak Up the Sun, which came up earlier on my fancy playlist at number 24. And later on, he produced Have a Nice Day, co-produced the album Have a Nice Day, 9th album by Bon Jovi. Boy, just said a mouthful about John Shanks. Just, you get thrilled when you learn these things, particularly artist Ashley Simpson. Yes. Michelle Branch, double yes. And of course, Sheryl Crow, all the way. And Chris Isaak, too. Let's not forget, he's at number 19 on my fantasy playlist, Let Me Down Easy. Fantasy playlist on May 6, 2002.